Beautiful day, even though it's cooler. Spring is around the corner. We often say that, but it's actually, we've been saying it since December. It is true now. All right. Well, welcome, good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning. All right. The Bible says this is the day the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Now, we're here for work, but we're still in the house of the Lord, and we're going to draw upon his presence and his wisdom, and also we're trusting the Lord to help us through our facilitator on today. So again, good morning. I'm Pastor Brian Hudson, and welcome to this workshop called Reset, Practical Tools for Mental Health. And this workshop is sponsored by New Covenant Church, and we're also affiliated with Indiana Pastors Coalition and the Wellness Connection, Inc. And we're also, this is being live streamed right now. So in fact, one of the handouts you have has a link to the workshop webpage, and we're streaming on that page right now. So if you want to invite someone to join us online, they can do that. Just share that link on the page, front or back. You'll see a link to the page, I think a QR code as well. You can share that. Now, we're committed here at New Covenant Church to health and wellness for our community. And this topic of mental health is always important. I'd like to always make the distinction that mental health and mental illness are not the same thing, right? Mental health is what we want to maintain. Mental illness, of course, is what we need help for. So this is a mental health workshop. Amen. Let me also say that this title, Reset, we chose this name for the workshop. And that word reset means this. It means begin to do things differently after a period of rest or change. One definition of reset. Another definition is to set, to adjust, to fix in a new or different way. All right, reset. To start something operating again. Just words to think about as we enter this session, that we are thanking the Lord, thanking Mr. Bryson Davis for helping us have tools, practical tools for our mental health. So I'm glad you're here, and I trust you're going to have an enlightening, educational, and inspirational experience. This is a skills-based, interactive experience designed to help participants, all of us, with practical strategies for strengthening our mental and emotional well-being. Now, also as a pastor, I believe it's important to always to connect people in our congregations to supports, professional supports that are sometimes needed but often go neglected, right? So we were talking, Bryce and I talking earlier about sometimes people want to self-medicate, self-diagnose and all that. And I really discourage that, obviously, because God has given us people like Mr. Davis to help us. And so we want to lean into that help. So Mr. Davis, Bryson Davis, is our facilitator. You see on your handout, he has a Master of Science degree and many certifications, all right? And I won't try to say all those right now, but they're there. You can look them up. And also, I'll say this, on the workshop webpage, there's a podcast. He and I sat down, had a conversation, and delved into his background. And you can look at that podcast, learn more about Mr. Davis. So I appreciate him. He's the president of Onward and Upward Counseling. He's a Fort Wayne native with 24 years of experience in the field of mental health. He specializes in providing one-on-one counseling, group counseling, consulting, substance use counseling, gun violence reduction, reentry support, and life coaching. His work emphasizes cognitive behavioral therapy, anger management, grief counseling, violence intervention, sexual maladaptive behavior. So Mr. Davis serves adolescents, young adults, and couples. And this is what I learned about Bryson. I met him last fall at an Anthony Beverly event. I like that he's engaged at every level with children and youth and adults. And I appreciate that broad experience and expertise he's bringing. So this workshop will be comprised of 2 sessions with Mr. Davis. We'll have a brief break between the session, and we're going to ask you to, if you have questions, use the question card you received. So fill the card out. If you hold the card up, an usher will come and get that card and give those to me. And I give those to Bryson at the end of each session, and we'll go over those questions. At the very end, we'll have more of an interactive discussion. So that's pretty much the format for today. We got some water back there. We'll bring out light refreshments between the sessions. And we're here to really encourage, educate, and inspire. Any quick questions before we start with our first session? Any quick questions? All right, well, thanks for being here again. It's being live streamed, so share that. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this workshop, for this opportunity to learn, to grow. Lord, to lean into the help that you provide and the wisdom you give through people like Mr. Davis. We open our hearts and minds to receive the help we need and also to think about how we can help others and encourage others to seek the help that they may need. Thank you for this session. Thank you for our time together. In Jesus' name, can you say amen? Amen. All righty. Well, without further ado, I want you to welcome Mr. Bryson Davis. Give him a hand as he comes. All right, all right.
Thank you, Pastor Hudson.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody's being here this morning. Appreciate Mr. Pastor Hudson for what he has done for me, opening so many doors for me. And I appreciate Mr. Anthony Beverly, who's not here, who I also work with as he continues to address gun violence in the city of Indianapolis. It's good to see everybody here today. I'm so blessed to use this platform to speak about mental health. And I promise you it's going to be very interactive. I'm not the type of guy that's going to sit up here and just speak for 2 hours and we sit here bored. I promise you that. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be very exciting. And again, I just appreciate Pastor Hudson for giving me this opportunity. My name is Bryson Davis. I'm a native of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I've been in Indianapolis, Indiana since 2006. I'm a graduate of Indiana University. I was talking to Pastor Hudson earlier. I can't believe we won the championship. It's still unbelievable that we won. When I was in school, they used to give us free tickets. That's how bad we were. And not only that, if you come at halftime, all you had to do is show your school ID, and you could get in for free. That's how bad we was. Now I go down to get tickets. It's so expensive to get tickets now. So I just wanted to represent my alma mater this morning. So I went to Indiana University. When I was in school at Indiana University, I was raised by a single mother, 6 children from Fort Wayne, Indiana. She was a very strong woman that sacrificed everything for us. So I'm just blessed to have a woman like that in my life. After college, I went back to Fort Wayne. I was working at a Weiser Park Youth Center up in Fort Wayne, Indiana. After that, I went to an organization called Centerpoint. Then I came to Indianapolis, and I said, you know what? I need to expand my career and also make more money. So I decided to go back to get my master's in psychology. It's one of the best things that I have done. So I really love preaching. I really love serving. And when I mean preaching, I'm not preaching the gospel, but preaching mental health. So I'm excited to be here. When I was in college, I didn't take advantage of the blessing that I had. I was partying. I wasn't self-regulating as well as I should have. I was indulging in substances, things I shouldn't have been doing, and I flunked out of college. I went home and I told my mother I flunked out of college. And my mother was very devastated with me. My mother said, Bryson, you can't come home. Ain't no room for you here at home. That's a true story. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, Mom. My mother said, I got something for you. She went in her pocketbook and she gave me $200. And she said, you got to go back and you got to beg your roommates to let you stay with them. And you got to figure it out because you can't come home. So I went back and I spoke to my roommates I was with, and I said, hey, I'm not in school. I have $200 on the rent, but I promise I'll get a job. And they blessed me to be able to stay with them, and I got back in school, and I got my degree in general studies. When I came out with my general studies degree, I had people telling me, your degree ain't worth the paper it was written I went to my supervisor, my advisor, and I was really upset with him. Dr. Jackson, I said, Dr. Jackson, nobody helped me. Nobody helped me manage my refund check. Nobody helped me give me a tutor. No one helped me to teach me how to study at a collegiate level. You guys failed me. And Mr. Jackson, he took his glasses off. He said, son, you know when they say that, you know it's going to be a good conversation. He said, son, he said, did you seek help? He said, did you sought what you needed? Or you came in here blaming us because you didn't make the initiative to go get the help that you needed. And that changed my life because he was right. I went back home, sat down in my living room, in my room that I grew up in, and I was depressed. I didn't know what was going to be next for me. I'm in this college campus, but I'm back home in my mother's home, in my bedroom I grew up in. I had one suit, and I got an opportunity for a job, and I'll never forget. I walked to my first job in my suit. It was cold too, November. And I'll never forget, there's a man who was living on the street, and he looked at me, and he said, you know what? He said, man, you're going to get that job. I don't know where you're going, but wherever you're going to go, you're going to get that job. And that's how I started my career in social work. And I realized it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So the version you see of me now is not the version I was 20 years ago. So I'm really excited to spread the importance of mental health, how it's going to be beneficial to all of us from a cognitive perspective. I specialize in cognitive behavior therapy, which is a shift of your mind. Mindfulness, cognitive, because I believe that your mind, if you control your mind and your mind is healthy, it would flow through your whole body. I work with young men all the time, and I hear these all the time. Mr. Davis, what are the root causes of this? What's the root causes of that? Is it the home? Is it the parents? Is it the neighborhoods, the lack of income? I said, oh, those are some factors. But I said, we all walking around with the root cause, which is our mind. It's all mindfulness, cognitive behavior. And so today we're going to jump into this. We're going to have a lot of fun. And we're going to focus on cognitive behavior and some of the skills that we're going to learn here today. I pray that you put in your heart and your soul and you take it to your loved ones. So let's jump in this. You ready? Let's do it. Reset, practical tools for mental health. Me and Pastor Hudson, my initial wanted to be reentry to recovery because that's my motto of my company, reentry to rehab to recovery. Pastor Hudson, he told me that'd be a better name, a reset, and I'm happy he said that because sometimes we need a reset of how we operate and how we move and how we think about certain things. Look into our core values, what's important to us, because things that was important to us 20 years ago is not important to us today. Reentry, and when you hear reentry, you think all the time, is it reentry from a lockdown facility? Is it reentry from a jail or prison? No, it's reentry to a more healthier mindset. And that's what we're going to focus on today. So reentry to rehab to recovery. Restore and redemption. So some workshop objectives, I won't read them all. Enhance cognitive awareness. I spoke what cognitive is, right? Your mind and how your mind operates. Strengthen cognitive behavior skills. Evidence-based cognitive behavior strategies to understand how to manage your mind and how to make good decisions from a cognitive perspective. Mindfulness and self-regulation. Emotional regulation is very, very important. Emotional regulation. I was once told a person's character is judged by how he manages emotions. You could be the best person in the world, but if you can't manage your emotions, it's going to close a lot of doors to you. Improve symptom recognition and insight. I believe that part of my job as a therapist is to put titles to feelings. You just don't walk into a doctor's office and say, treat me. You have to tell the doctor what's going on with you. A lot of times what happens, and I notice this in my field, is a lot of people are feeling a certain way and they're getting mistreated because they don't know what they're going through. And then we come into the doctor and expect for them to know what's going on with us and be specific. So when I do my therapy, they say, Mr. Davis, I'm going through something. I'm feeling this type of way. I always tell them, I don't know what that means. Be specific with your problem so you can be specific with the what? Solution. And last but not least, promote effective communication for healthy living. Assertive communication is really important, and we're going to talk about that today. I'm glad y'all here. Cognitive awareness refers to an individual's ability to recognize, understand, and reflect on their own thoughts. When you hear that, what do you take from that when you hear that? Self-awareness, absolutely. Reflect on their own thoughts. It involves becoming consciously aware of how one thinks and reacts in certain ways and how thoughts influence action. Cognitive awareness. Being in the moment. Understanding how cognitive affects our behavior and the way we think. To recognize, understand, and reflect on our own thoughts. I say this all the time. Every night when we go to sleep at night, we should be self-reflecting. What went well? What did not go well? How can I have improved? What things that I could have been better with? Every night we should go at bed at night, self-reflecting on that day. Or you can self-reflect during the day also. I always encourage people to do that. Self-reflect during the day. If you got some moment, take your time to say what's going good, what's not going good. Cognitive. Ability to recognize, understand, reflect on their own thoughts, emotions, behavior, and decision-making process. Benefits of mindfulness. Reduce stress and anxiety. That's critical. Reduce stress and anxiety. Improve emotional control. A lot of times we get upset and we saying things and we acting out based off emotion instead of logic. And then we don't understand why our children don't want to come and speak to us when we have critical moments and times, because they know how we're going to respond, because we respond in emotion instead of taking the time to really understand. I had this young man I used to work with, and I was a supervisor when I used to work at one of my past contracts. And I was facilitating something like this, and he was so upset. He was mad, and he was going back and forth with me, and it was unfamiliar because he never behaved like this. And so I brought him to my office, and I said, what's going on with you? He said, Mr. Davis, my son's having some problems at school. He's being suspended with my mental health, and I'm having some problems at home with my wife. I didn't just go off emotion and just tell him what he's doing wrong. I asked, are you okay? And sometimes people just need that. Are you okay? How are you feeling today? How's your day going? Is there anything I can help you with? So sometimes we base things, a lot of our emotions, instead of thinking about what the other person is going through. Can you go back to that previous one? I'm sorry. It means being aware of what is happening right now instead of focusing on the past or worrying about the future. Being in the moment. Understanding how your body's feeling, what you're going through. Understanding what's coming out of your mouth and how someone is receiving it. Because what comes out of our mouth is written in ink. And some things we can't take back. You ever had that person that you saw, they seen in a long time, and they told you, you remember what you said? You're like, I don't remember that. That was so long ago, but I do. So we have to be mindful about that, especially when we're dealing with people we love and dealing with our children. Emotional regulation. When you hear that, what do you guys think that means? Emotional regulation. Controlling your emotions. That's it. Controlling your emotions. Thinking before we speak. Understanding what we're saying to that person, how they need to receive it. Not going off what we feel is right, but what is right. If that makes sense. Emotional regulation. Ability to recognize, understand, and manage one emotional response in a healthy and constructive way. I hear that person all the time. I went off on the boss. Yeah, I went off on him good, didn't I? Yeah, you went off on him. You going right out that door. You be in the break room, everybody thinking that you the man in the break room, don't they? Yeah, man, you went off on him for us. I appreciate that. Who gonna come with me? Remember Jerry Maguire when he said he gonna come with me? Nobody gonna come with you. You walking out that door by yourself because you basing yourself things off emotion. And like it or not, people judge us what comes out of our mouth. So if you speak ignorance, they're gonna treat you like you have no sense. One thing I emphasize with a lot of young men I work with is inappropriate language, because people treat you what comes out your mouth, like it or not. You say good things, people treat you nice. You say bad things, people treat you accordingly. Emotional regulation, that's critical. Being aware of emotion as they arise and use appropriate coping skills to respond rather than reactive, impulsive. Not going with how you feel. Thinking before we react. Thinking before we say things. thinking before we move. Emotional regulation. What's emotional dysregulation? Because that's not on here. It's not how to manage your emotions. You know, I used to work with kids all the time, and a parent would come to me, they're like, Mr. Davis, this kid, he's not listening to me, he's not behaving, he's not doing the things I asked him. What's wrong with him? I say, he's 12. He's 12. He's still got some growing up to do. He doesn't manage his emotions well. But then it's interesting because when I see the parent come in, I say, oh, now I know why he ain't managing his emotions well. Because the parents ain't managing theirs. Coming into school, ripping the school, telling them my kids. I see this all the time. Going off on the teachers, yelling at the teachers. How you expect our kids to act? We're modeling behavior. We modeling behavior. This young man, he was addicted to marijuana, and he was smoking a lot of marijuana. Mother said, "I don't know why he's doing this, Mr. Davis. He know I don't want him doing that." I said, "You look in your ashtray." You got the same stuff in your ashtray that he's smoking in the room. Emotional regulation, modeling behavior, setting the standard of how we should operate as adults with emotion, with what comes out of our mouth, how we think, how we approach things. Triggers, ooh, this is a good one. This is a real good one. I teach this all the time. People don't make us angry, people trigger us, and our triggers drive our emotion. So I hear this all the time. Mr. Davis, I got an anger problem. No, you have a trigger problem. What are your triggers? What are your triggers that drive your emotion? Triggers, our emotions are driven by triggers. We must understand what triggers are to manage our emotions. And I don't care who we are, we all have triggers. One of my mom triggers that when you get off work, you better have the house clean. Because if not, it's going to be a price to pay for you not having the house clean by the time I get off work. Understanding what our triggers are. This is critical. Because when we understand what makes us angry, we understand what embarrasses us, we understand what makes us shameful, we understand things that make us mad, they're triggers. And triggers drive our emotions. We understand and manage our triggers, emotional regulator. Unmanaged triggers can lead to emotional dysregulation. Ask yourself, what makes you upset? Ask yourself, what makes me embarrassed? What makes me mad? Ask yourself, what does somebody do to send me off the cliff? Those are called triggers. But a lot of times we like to reframe it like they just got an anger problem. No, somebody's triggering us. And as we get older, we have to understand what our triggers are. That's critical, triggers. Does anybody have any triggers in here? Right? So when I hear it all the time, he got an anger problem, Mr. Davis. He needs to get some medication. No, he just needs to understand what his triggers are. And understand what makes him angry and understand what is causing him to do the things that he's doing, which should all stem from triggers. But it's interesting, when I was growing up, I wasn't taught that. I was just taught that if somebody make you mad, you just tell me they make you mad. Instead of saying, no, Bryson, what are some of your triggers that drives your anger? That's critical. So when we're dealing with our children or our loved ones and they get upset about certain things, it may be something that you're doing unintentionally. You just don't know. It may be one of their triggers. That's critical that we have to understand what our triggers are to us. Self-regulation. Taking time to understand how we feel. Processing your emotions in a healthy manner. And what's a healthy manner? Sometimes taking time to think about what happened and processing it instead of reacting. Because what's a reaction? Just saying it without thinking. A response is when you sit and you think about it and you process before you say something. I teach this all the time. Sometimes you don't have to address things in the moment. Take some time to think about it. Take a couple hours, or sometimes take a day to think about it And then you can say, you know what? This is what I was thinking about. How can we address this in a better manner? Ain't it funny when somebody gets angry and you don't get angry, they get angrier? Y'all ever experienced that? When somebody angry and you calm, and why ain't you mad? Because, I'm listening to you. That's what I'm doing. That's critical, that we have to be mindful of that. Process your emotions in a healthy manner. I went off on them, girl, or I went off on him. Yeah, but those consequences can be really bad in the end. And you never know what you could say to somebody that can trigger them. You know, people wake up every day. I see this all the time. We wake up every day. You don't know what that person have to go through to face the world. You don't know what that person have to go through to put his shoes on, to go out to society, to face the world, to go out there and make a decent living, but still got to face their problems every day. That's critical. Managing in a healthy manner, talking to somebody who you trust. Because I'm going to tell you something. You remember that game we used to play in school? What's it called? Telephone? It'd be a person here and they say a message, and by the time they get here, the whole message is messed up. Ain't that what happens when we have our problems? You tell this person, next thing you know, by the time you get to this person, you fell off the cliff and you broke your leg. You're like, wait a minute, hold on. That wasn't even a conversation. So we have to be mindful of who we talking to our problems to also. Sometimes our problems ain't for the world. Sometimes it just needs to be talked to with people who we trust and have our best interests at heart. Because sometimes people like wearing their problems. You ever seen that person come through the room? Like, okay, here we go. What's the problem now? They love to wear their problems because they like the sympathy instead of taking accountability to change. Be specific with your feelings or problems. You don't go to a dentist if you have a heart problem. Let me say that again. You don't go to a dentist if you have a heart problem. You be specific with what's going on with you. But as parents, sometimes we don't like giving children a platform to talk about the problems that they're having. And then what happens with that? I remember one time, I love my mother. One time my mother thought I wasn't doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing, which wasn't true, because I wasn't, and I won't say what it was. And how my mother responded was anger, which I understand, because she cared about my safety. Bryson, if I catch you doing this, we parents, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So I said, you know what, I'm going to make my mother mad again. So what my mother did, what she didn't understand, is that she closed off the platform for me to feel comfortable talking to her about anything important. I didn't feel comfortable because I knew what the response was going to be. So what we do, we go talk to our peers, and they don't know nothing. And then we don't understand why our children don't want to talk to us. Have we created a platform where they feel comfortable? Because, I'm 48, so I grew up old school. You do what your mama said or daddy said, it don't matter. You show respect. So when they say something, you just do it. But sometimes that's not always a good strategy. We got to have people be comfortable to say, you know what, you can come and talk to me about anything, no matter how ugly it is. Because guess what? I'd rather deal with it at the beginning than have to deal with it at the consequence at the end. Because sometimes it may be too late. That's got a lot of our young men locked up right now in prison, incarcerated, because they were screaming for help, but we didn't want to listen to it. Or what we said, oh, that situation ain't that bad. Minimize it. You never know what people go through. Understand how your feelings or problems affect you and the people around you. Man, you ever notice when you come home and you in a bad mood, the whole house in a bad mood? You mad at the dog, mad at the wife, mad at the delivery man that delivering Amazon is angry. That's critical. Understand how your feelings or problems affect you and the people around you. Since you're in a bad mood, don't mean everybody got to deal with your bad mood. Since you're angry, don't mean that you have to be angry towards everybody else. Since you were failed, doesn't mean that you got to fail this other person. I could be having the worst morning and I walk in the office and they'd never know. They'd never know. Because at the end of the day, I still got to provide high quality work. I see sometimes my constituents, when they have therapy sessions, right before when they sit down with the client, they're like, ooh, I don't feel like being at work today. How do you think that's going to set the tone for the session? Or you a nurse walking in or a dentist, oh, I had a long night, man. Let's get this over with. What? You're about to give me a root canal. You're about to deliver my child. So be mindful of that. Be mindful, because if we're not careful, we can pass our trauma down. And we're going to talk about trauma today too. If we're not careful, we can pass our trauma down if we're not careful. When you're not specific with your feelings or problems, it could lead to what? Misdiagnosis. Unfortunately, the African American population are the most highest misdiagnosed population subculture in the country. Partly because we don't disclose. That's part of it too. But we're not specific with what we need. So it leads to misdiagnosis, mismedication, and mistreatment. I used to work at this facility, Eskenazi, and a great hospital. Amazing. This was back when I first moved here in 2006. I'll never forget, I was working with this young lady, and she was addicted to crack cocaine, but they was treating her for bipolar. But her symptoms were substance-induced, like the voices, the hallucinations, and various things like that. It was substance-induced. And I'll never forget, I was going back and forth with the doctor, respectfully. And I said, we're treating her from something that she doesn't need. She's dealing with an addiction, a substance addiction. So they said, okay, Mr. Davis, we'll listen to you. We'll send her off to a rehab and get her and see what that works. And in a miracle, she was clean and didn't even need her bipolar medication. Now, of course, she did continue to need medication because she still has some mental health problems. However, she was misdiagnosed. She was mismedicated, and she's receiving mistreatment. Then we got the audacity to say, y'all mistreating me. Wait a minute, you didn't tell them what the problem was. They just going off what they think. So that's why I always preach to my people I work with, be specific with your problems so we can be specific with the solutions. So when we have our children, our loved ones saying, hey, I'm mad about what? How does it make you feel? How did you respond? So you can really break it down layer by layer by layer. Please be specific with what we're going through. That's really critical. And if you don't know, find somebody that can help you with the answer to that. When my sister, God bless her soul, she was dying from cancer, I was really upset that she was dying from cancer, and she was still doing some things she wasn't supposed to while she was taking her chemo. And she said, I said, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. You know what you should be doing. And she hung up the phone on me. And when I called her back, I said, Angel, why did you hang up the phone on me? She said, because Bryson, not one time did you ask me what I needed. You just assumed that I was doing this but it's because I'm tired, Bryson. I'm hurting. I'm tired of the treatment. I'm tired of the things that they're giving me. I don't want to do it anymore. So what we did is that we was able to really help her with some of the things that she needed near the end of her life. Unfortunately, cancer did take her life, but she fought for 5 years. But that was another situation where she wasn't getting the treatment that she needed. And at that time, I was not wise enough to understand that I was going based off my emotion. So be mindful of that. Challenge your doctors. Don't take away from this that Mr. Davis said don't listen to your doctors. Say Pastor Hudson brought somebody in and say don't listen to your doctors. I'm not saying that. Please don't take that out of here, okay? Because I know this live streaming. No, your doctors are there for a reason. However, talk to your doctor about, is this the medication I need? About 5 years ago, I was like 50 pounds heavier. And no, it don't look like it, but it was. And I'll never forget, I was having sleep apnea problems. My wife woke me up in the middle of the night and said, Bryson, you got some problems. You ain't breathing at night. I had symptoms of sleep apnea. And I said, you know what, I got to go to the doctor. Because sometimes we don't like going to our first physical is in the emergency room sometimes. We do not like going to the doctor. I think that went over our head. Sometimes our first physical is when we go to the emergency room. And I went in there, and the doctor said, well, Bryson, we're going to give you a sleep study. We got everything set up for you. We got everything you ready. And I said, oh, no. I read something that if I lose some weight and practice a better lifestyle, that the symptoms would pretty much eliminate. Who told you that? I read. So I went. I lost 10 pounds. I lost another 10 pounds. Lost another 10 pounds. Lost another 10 pounds. And then my symptoms went away. Not because I didn't want to listen to that doctor, but I challenged him and I read other alternatives to see what would be better for me. Now, if I did all that and still didn't work, then I'd have had my sleep study, then I'd have got it taken care of. But I tell people that all the time. If you're taking a certain medication and you know it's not making you feel well, don't talk to your doctor. Get it adjusted. Figure out what works best for you. Because that's critical. Because only you know how you feel. So be mindful of the misdiagnosis, mismedication, and more importantly, mistreatment, especially with our kids. A lot of times I see kids, they get diagnosed with ADHD, taking medication at 10 years old. But a lot of times ADHD, it ain't really ADHD. They just saw some stuff at home. They just going through a lot of trauma. They growing up in a violent neighborhood. They growing up where maybe at night they didn't eat. So how you going to expect them to pay attention when their stomach growling? They hungry. They thinking about lunch. They ain't thinking about math. So be mindful of that and advocate for yourselves. This is a good one. Assertive communication. Assertive communication relies on respect and clarity, good self-control, calm, clear, and relaxed, listens without interruption. You ever met that person, they just want to talk just to argue? And no matter, and you know they lying, and they know you know they lying, and they still lying. You know you lying. Well, hold on, I ain't finished my conversation yet. Wait a minute, hold on. You going in circles. Y'all know I ain't lying? That's funny. Assertive communication, speaking to people with respect, clarity, honoring what they say, listen without interruption, calm, clear, relax. I'm going to give you guys a tip, especially our man here, because my wife is telling me this sometimes too. You can't force anybody to listen to you. That's not your job. You ever talk to somebody, you ain't listening, you ain't listening, you ain't listening, you ain't listening. Then you just get upset, more upset, more upset. It ain't your job to make them listen, but it is your job to disclose and express how you feel. It's up to them to listen, because I promise you they're going to come back later and say, you didn't tell me this. I did tell you this. You wasn't. And listening is a skill too. Sometimes we hear instead of listening. And one thing my wife always tell me, and I appreciate her, is to say you listen to respond, but now listen to understand now. But assertive communication, that's really critical, because sometimes we like aggressive communication and passive communication. I ain't gonna touch on all those today, but assertive communication, doing it in a positive manner, communicating with somebody so you can get their respect and that you show appreciation, that you listen. Because I'll tell you, I said this earlier in my presentation, people would judge you what comes out your mouth. And even before you say something, they're already judging you already. They already got a bias. They already got, you know, prejudice, when you break down what prejudice is, right? Prejudging. That's what prejudice is, prejudging. So if we're not mindful of how we speak and how we communicate, people would treat us accordingly. Assertive communication, even when that person you feel they may not deserve that respect, show them that respect. Listens without interruption, relies on respect and clarity, tries for connection with others. Assertive communication. Create a platform where people are comfortable talking about their problems, pain, or concerns. I spoke about this earlier. We wonder why our children are afraid to talk to us about certain things. Because they're afraid of the reaction. And then, you know, we'll say, why didn't you tell me? Well, why should they tell you? Because they're afraid of the response. They're afraid of the reaction. They're afraid that you may not understand them, or our loved ones, or our peers, or our spouses. Then they shut down. And then, unfortunately, they try to confide in other people who don't have their best interest in heart. And then that's where the problems arise. Because we're not creating a platform for them to feel comfortable talking to us. Because guess what? We know what's right. But kids know what's right for them too. They might go buy it a different way, but they know what they need too. So be mindful of that platform that you have where people could come and talk to us about anything and everything. Decision making. It's the process of choosing the best decision whenever possible. This is life 101, I believe. Because I shared with you guys earlier, when I flunked out of college, I look back on it, I self-reflect on that, my decision making was all wrong. I knew I should have been going to class, but I wanted to stay and play video games. I knew I should have been going to class, but I wanted to stay and have a beer. I knew I should have been going to class, but I wanted to stay and do some other things I shouldn't have been doing. Life is all about decision making. It really is. Good decision making often includes slowing down before reacting, thinking about short-term and long-term consequences. Foresight. What's hindsight? Hindsight is what? The action before thinking about the consequences. Foresight is thinking about the consequences before the action. Making a decision, thinking about the consequences later, that's hindsight. Foresight is thinking about the consequence before making the action. Unhealthy desires interrupt decision making. I want this. I know I shouldn't have this. I know I'd have to make a better decision, but I want it so bad I'm going to do it anyway. Unhealthy desires interrupt decision making. Think about that. I didn't say desires because some things is good that we desire. We desire a better relationship with God. We desire to be a better family man. Desire a better job. So there's nothing wrong with desires. But unhealthy desires interrupt decision making. And that could get pretty deep too if you think about it. Because a lot of things that we knew was unhealthy for us, but we desired and we still did it anyway. And sometimes the consequences wasn't good. Unhealthy desires interrupt decision making. Language can be a landmine or a gold mine depending on how you use it. Language could be a landmine or a gold mine depending on how you use it. What's a landmine? When you step on something, does it blow up immediately? Nah. You step on it, you're like, oh, I'm on the landmine, right? So you try to stay on it, and what happens when you step off? Then it blows. And then unfortunately, whoever's around you, they could be harmed by the landmine. That's what our language is. It could be a landmine or a gold mine, depending on how we use it. And we think we're encouraging people by talking to them in a certain way, but really they ain't encouraging us, pushing them away. Well, I'm blunt. That's just how I talk. Okay. All right. Good luck. Because that person ain't going to receive it. We have to be mindful how we speak. We have to be mindful what comes out of our mouth. We have to be mindful how we represent ourselves. Because at the end of the day, people will hold you by your words. They really will. You said you was going to do this. Well, I know I did, but, I know I ain't going to ask you for anything again. Landmine or gold mine? And sometimes when we think we're redirecting our children in a tough way, they don't receive it. That's why sometimes I don't call it constructive criticism. I call it constructive redirection. because sometimes people don't like the word criticize. So when you say constructive redirection, they can receive it that way. You know, I was having a disagreement with my wife, and we was talking, and I said, you know what? You triggering me. She said, what? I said, oh, yeah, you triggering me. So we need to take some time to talk about this, right? I didn't say you made me mad. I said, you triggering me. So let's be able to talk about it. And sometimes when my nephews, they call me and they say, Uncle Bryson, I did this wrong. I don't respond that I'm mad at you. I say, I'm disappointed in you. See how that hits harder? You came short of my expectations. I expect more out of you. I'm saying the same thing, but the language is just different. Because when you say it like that, they can sit and they can self-reflect and be like, oh, she has these high expectations of me and I failed her. That hits you in your heart. Because when somebody say they're mad at you, you can be like, all right, they mad at me. All right, they get over it. But when somebody say I'm disappointed in you, that make you rethink your life. Dang, she's disappointed in me. I didn't do something right. And that gives that person an opportunity for them to reflect on what they did wrong and how to make amends for that. That's critical, the way we speak, especially to our loved ones. Language could be a landmine or a gold mine, depending on how we use it. That makes sense? Any questions so far?
Yeah, you just mentioned constructive redirection versus constructive criticism.
Yes.
Is that based on more what you say or how you say it? Which is that?
Well, I look at it like when you say constructive redirection, is that you're redirecting them for their behavior or what they need redirecting instead of criticizing them.
So is it language? Or
Yes, it's more language and an approach too. Because you know when you hear the word criticize, it's not really usually associated with positivity. Right? So when somebody says I'm coming to criticize you, you're looking at it like, criticizing me? But when somebody say I want to redirect you, that could be something that's more welcoming. So I think that's our intermission right now, Pastor Hudson.
Yeah, one question.
Yes. I think I need glasses. I think I'm getting older. I really need glasses. I'm fighting it, though. I'm fighting it. I think I do. Is there any relationship between mental health and dementia? If so, what insights recommend do you have to offer? No, I don't really think that is. I think dementia is more of a diagnosis that is more happens when you get older and you lose the cognitive capability. Mental health can stem from a lot of things. It could be trauma that could spark your mental health. It could be grief that could spark your mental health. It could be loss of a job that could spark your mental health. It could be loss of a loved one, loss of money that could spark your mental health. Dementia is more of a medical diagnosis compared to mental health, because I think a lot of times mental health could be situational too. Like, for example, clinical depression is that they're just depressed. No matter what's going on around them, they're clinically depressed. But if you lose a relationship, that can make you depressed. But eventually, once you heal from that, you can come out of that depression, if that makes sense. So that would be my answer to that. Any more questions before we have our intermission? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question or a statement that I'd like to talk to next session. I'm personally in crisis of my son that's turning 40.
Yes.
He's always been in anger management. He's always been on medication. As he's gotten older, and it's bothering him that he's turning 40. And he's still living at home with me. But he has gone to the mental health program. We've tried to get help, and he has not received it. He's committed himself several times, and they do nothing but send him home, a lot of times without warning me. And he's threatening me. But then he tells me how much I'm in his corner, And so I'm stuck with where do we get started when he's through with the mental health? Because he doesn't have SSI, he doesn't have any income, he has nowhere to go. I'm in my 70s now, so I want him to be some kind of man when I'm gone. So I'm stuck within, just like he used to be deemed frail, but because he doesn't go to therapy after he committed himself the last time, because he feels like the medication isn't doing it. Now, granted, he's an avid weed smoker because he feels like that's where his calm comes from. But at this point, before I go, I need to know, how do I get him started back to seeing someone when he has no insurance? He's gone and committed himself, and they haven't done anything. The last time he was committed, I asked them to keep him 72 hours. They said they didn't have a bed. This was at Eskenazi. And then they called Methodist. They didn't have a bed, so what did they do? They sent him home. He says he's done with it, but he's still on edge every day. And that's my life right now. So maybe you can think about where I could get started again. Because day to day, it's just something every day. Because he doesn't think clearly, although he's telling me that he is. So it's just hard right now for me to reason with him. So we kind of exist in the house, but I need to know where to get started to get him back willingly, because he said it was my fault that he went the last time because I begged him to go, and absolutely they did nothing. I talked to the hospital about it. They just said they didn't have room, so they sent him home. But they've done that. He's been in 3 or 4 times willingly, and he doesn't know what to do, and neither do I. So you might want to talk to me privately later.
Yeah,
what I should do.
I definitely will.
But we're just in a standstill.
I want to tell you, thank you for being strong,
I gotta be.
because that's difficult.
It's very difficult.
Is it-
People don't know how I live every day,
Yeah,
but I need an answer.
yeah,
I need a direction.
yes,
It doesn't necessarily have to be an answer, but something that we can both start doing to
yes,
get back on some kind of track to get him help.
yes,
Because when I'm gone,
yeah,
nobody's gonna take him in because they know how he is.
yes, yes. Well, I'm definitely will talk to you after, but I do want to respond to what you're saying. It's interesting. Studies show that one-on-one therapy is more effective than going to like a community mental health. I'm gonna give you an example. When I used to work at Midtown Mental Health, I had 60 people on my caseload.
He's been through that.
So now I carry a caseload maybe like 7. So the one-on-one is really more helpful, I believe, than working with a therapist that have so many people on their caseload. 2, I think we need to figure out the underlying reason what he's going through. It has to be something there underlining that's driving the mental health. Something in the past, something that's been unaddressed, something that he's been exposed to, something he's been having access to. Is something underneath there. And 3, more importantly, the relatability of the people that's working with him.
Right, right.
You know, because it seems like they just bring them in there, give them 3 days, calm them down, medicate them up, and say, see you later, you know. So it's about the relatability, who's working with him, too. Do we trust to disclose? Does he trust to really talk about what he's going through? Does he trust that, you know, whoever's helping him can help him through his problems that he's currently experiencing? And I do understand that, because you feel like you're trapped by his mental health that's not being addressed. And that's a difficult situation that you're in. But it is help out there. And when we get done, I want to sit down with you, and I want to get you some direction where you need to go, because I want to give you the privacy that you deserve too. Yeah, but I'm gonna give you the privacy you deserve, and we could talk definitely one-on-one.
Okay.
It won't be no issue. No problem, Mel. No problem, Mel. Yes.
All right. Okay, thank you, Bryson. Thank you for, again, being here and, you know, paying attention. This has been really good, amen. So, all right. And sister, you be encouraged, okay? I would tell you as a pastor, your situation is not uncommon. No, it's not. It's not uncommon. There's a lot of stories like that in this room. I promise you. Yes, that's why that personal touch is important. Sharing it is good for you, but the real help will come in a personal encounter. Okay, good. All right, it's time for a break. Go ahead, help yourself. We got some, I said, light refreshments. If you're hungry, it's not the place for you, okay? So go ahead and get yourself refreshed and come back in like 5 minutes, okay? All right, thank you. Let us reconvene. Come on back in. All right. Hey, Donovan, look for a graphic for this book, Winning the Battle for the Mind. If you have a graphic, show that. If not, that's okay. This book graphic. All right. We're going to reconvene here in a moment. I have a book. Now, this book is called Winning the Battle for Your Mind. Subtitle is A Biblical Approach to Renewing Your Mind. But most important, it says at the bottom, not a mental health guide. Okay? This is a Bible study, okay? And I do it for two reasons: to emphasize the importance of, God is helping all of us. But God sent people like Mr. Davis. Expertise and people walking with us. Right? That clear? We need both, don't we? Bible foundation and wisdom from people who have insight to help us specifically. All righty. Well, so far so good. So I'm going to invite Mr. Davis back up. He said so many things that just resonated with me. And the good thing is, because it's being recorded, it'll be on our church YouTube channel. Go back and watch it again. You had the handout as well. And so just let this wisdom fill your heart and help you help others. All right, Mr. Bryson, come on back and let's continue. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. I appreciate everybody. Thank you, guys. I know you guys could be anywhere today, and I really appreciate everybody being here. I really do. Second half is going to be great. I'm excited. Let's rock and roll. Let's finish strong. I always tell people I work with, people don't remember you at your job, what you did, but they always remember how you leave. So we always got to finish strong, right? They always remember how you leave. You could do a great job. Like, remember how they left? So let's finish strong, and I'm definitely going to take some time after we get done too. Trauma. I won't be touching it, but we're going to just touch upon this a little bit. Results from a single distressing experience or from reoccurring events of being overwhelmed. It can last over weeks, years, or even decades. Why? Why if trauma can last over days, years, or even decades? Why? It hasn't been addressed. Unmanaged trauma, unaddressed trauma, absolutely. Person struggles with immediate circumstances, an event that a person cannot control or which there's a perceived lack of control can cause trauma. Example of that could be a child that's in an abusive relationship with the parent. It could be a young lady or man who's in a DV situation. Perceived control, lack of control can cause trauma. It can last for weeks, years, or even decades. I do grief therapy also. And one of the things I hear all the time when I'm working with people, when people say, you ain't got over it yet. You ain't got over it yet. Or just get over it. You don't get over trauma. You heal from trauma. You heal from grief. My sister's been gone since 2016, and I'm still healing from her being gone in 2016. It's music that I hear that makes me think about her. It's events that make me think about her. So I'm still healing myself regarding my trauma. So it can last over years, days, or even decades. Don't ever let nobody put an expiration date on your healing. That's very, very serious. You should be over this by now. Wait a minute. You don't know how this affected me? You still going through this? Yeah, I really am. But the interesting part about what I learned about our people is that a lack of disclosure. The lack of saying, I have a problem. A lack of saying, I'm hurt. I like to golf. If anybody know, I love to golf. I love golfing. And when I'm golfing, I like having my certain cigar brands, and I'm out there in the course, different things like that, right? And if anybody that likes cigars and stuff like that, you know you just can't light them with a regular gas station lighter. You know, the clear one with the cheap one, you can't just light them with that. You have to use a Zippo, right? And the Zippos are pretty expensive too, because they need fluid to light. And I remember one time, I was telling my wife, I said, I don't know where my lighter is. Where's my Zippo lighter? I can't find it. I said, well, so I threw my golf clothes in a washer, and next thing I heard was clean, 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 clean. I think that's my Zippo. Clean, clean. So I went in my washer, I pulled my Zippo lighter out, and I realized that it was wet. So what I had to do is that I had to take my Zippo lighter, wash it off, dry it off, re-put some more fluid. It wasn't working. Had to let it dry off again, put some more fluid in it, and eventually it started working again. And so I put it in a place where I know it could be safe. That's what we do with our brokenness. We forget where we hide it. We forget where we put it because it's been unmanaged for years. So we're looking at, where my brokenness at? I can't find it because I always kept it in my back pocket, because if we're not careful, it's going to show up in situations where your brokenness shouldn't show up at. It's going to show up in your relationship. It's going to show up in your ability to manage problems. It's going to show up in your children. It's going to show up in your relationship. It's going to show up with your relationship with God if we're not careful. So be mindful where we keep our brokenness. Be mindful of addressing if we are broken. I work at a recovery place for substance use. I contract there, and I tell everybody that's in the recovery place, you leave here sober, congratulations, but if you leave here broken, you'll be back. You'll be back if you leave here broken. And a lot of times we operate in our life broken because we don't want to disclose what we heard. We don't want to feel the shame that we have a problem. We don't want to seem weak because we're hurting. But that's not weakness. To me, that's courage to say that I need help. So be mindful of our trauma, and if we are going through some things, to be able to address it in a healthy way, not just on the phone or through Facebook. Because I swear people be disclosing through Facebook. I'm like, dang, you talking about that on Facebook? And then be funny because 30 minutes later they delete the post. I'm like, it's already out there now. You just told the whole world what you're going through. Your trauma ain't for the whole world. Sometimes our trauma and our problems ain't for the whole world to know. Because guess what? When you put it out there, then you can't dictate how people are going to receive it. Be mindful of that. There's nothing wrong with getting help. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm broken. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm hurting. There's nothing wrong with getting help with your trauma. There are 4 stages of trauma. Fight, protect themselves through conflict. When you want to address something, they just start an argument. They just want to go back and forth with you. My sister was in that for a long time when she was fighting her cancer. She was in the fight stage for a long time. When you try to help redirect her, tell her some things, she'd be argumentative, fighting, oppositional, not want to talk. Flight, protect themselves through escape. And that's not only a physical escape with your body, it's a mental and emotional escape. Or a spiritual escape. Not want to talk about it, want to just go away, always want to escape from it. Freeze, protect themselves through disassociation, don't want to talk about it. They just stuck in the trauma. They just stuck carrying it around. And in some instances, people are like physically stuck too, where, you heard somebody's like, I can't move. That's true. But you're just stuck in your trauma. You're just walking in your trauma. You're just living in your trauma. You operate in your trauma. That's the freeze stage. And the last one is fawn. Protect themselves through people pleasing, even if it means neglecting themselves. I like your hair. You don't like her hair. What they say, you front. You got some cute shoes on. No, you don't like her shoes. That food was real good. Can you bring something in for lunch tomorrow? No, it wasn't good. That's fawning, people pleasing, neglecting yourself to make other people feel good. I say all the time when I work with people, I do these presentations a lot, I'm going to be selfish. No, don't be selfish, just self-prioritize. Because when you're selfish, you step on any and everybody to get to your goal. I need to be more selfish. No, just self-prioritize. What does self-prioritize mean? You come first, and whatever you have left, you're willing to give. But you come first. Fawning, people pleasing. So a lot of times, I remember when I was younger, and I'll never forget, I used to see some of my coworkers in the supervisor office, and we used to call them brown nosing. They brown nosing to the supervisor. They always in their office. Look at them. They always in their office. But you never know what that person got to do to keep their job. Who am I to judge? You never know what that person needs to do to keep that money coming, so who they need to feed, who they need to provide for. I always say that. We treat people good. So when you see that next time, y'all learn from this today. Now, sometimes they may be in the office because they want some brownie points too. I'm not saying that. But, however, you never know what that person has to go through. Fawning, people pleasing. And you see a lot of that in domestic violence situations. If the food ain't hot enough. If the house ain't cleaned up enough. I don't want him getting angry and abusing me. You see that a lot with children too. Mom, I did my best in school. I'm trying to do my best. Or I see that a lot of times with children too. You know, I want to do good so he won't come and touch me or she won't come and touch me. Because I work with a lot of people that are sexual perpetrators and victims. I see that a lot in the fawning stage. When trauma is not managed or treated, it just doesn't go away. It often shows up in other areas in our life. We talked about that earlier with brokenness. Emotionally, physically, behaviorally, and relationally. Over time, unmanaged trauma can quietly drive harmful patterns that interfere with healing, sobriety, parenting, and stability. You know, my mind has been changed since I started working with people that's in recovery from drugs and alcohol. I was naive and ignorant to the point where I think they just want to use because they like getting high. No, they use them because they're trying to cover something up. 'Cause Saturday mornings I teach a men's group. 90% of the people I work with, 95% of people I work with that's dealing with substance use have some type of trauma or grief in their life. So I was at the gas station around the corner probably like 2 months ago, and I saw a young man in there, and he had to be like 17, 18 years old. And he said, "Can you buy me a pack of cigars?" I said, "Man, I know what you about to do with those." "No, man, I'm not about to do that, man." And I said, "Man, my name is Mr. Davis, man. I'm a therapist." I said, I can't buy you that, man. I said, "But I can buy you some chips and a soda if you want one of those." And I said, "Man, why are you doing this anyway?" He said, "Man, I'm in school and I've been kicked out of school and they put me out for my behavior and I'm just trying to make it through." So you never know what people are going through to use drugs and alcohol or that's affected their parenting. You never know what people have to endure because of dealing with their trauma. You never know what people are afraid to face because of their trauma. Be mindful of that. So instead of quick to saying what you're not doing right, be quick to say, "How can I help you?" What you going through? What you need help with? How are you maintaining? Because guess what? Some people ain't living, they just surviving. And you know what's worse than just surviving? Existing. They just here. No direction. They just existing because they feel like nobody understands them. When there's really people that really do understand them. Gratitude. Noticing the good things, big or small, in your daily life, often overlooked. When I was young, going to the laundromat with my mama was fun for the first 15 minutes, so my change ran out. There's no more boring place in the kid than being in the laundromat. When my mama got a washer dryer, we was the happiest kids in the world. I don't got to go to the laundromat no more. Because, she give you like $1 worth of change, and, you sit on the machine and get some chips. It's gone, so you just sitting there waiting for the laundry to get done. It's a blessing to walk upstairs and say, let me put my clothes in the washer and dryer. It's a blessing when you say, guess what? It's cold outside. Let me turn up the thermostat. It's a blessing to say, you know what, babe, I'm kind of cold. Go get that extra comforter. There's people that have nothing. There's people that line up at 5 in the morning to get a bed, and by the time they get to the front, they tell me, ain't no more bed. See you tomorrow at 5 in the morning. I know, I witnessed it. I saw it. And society is so interesting, right? Because it could be a human and dog on the corner. And by the end of that day, that dog got food. That dog got water. That dog got a comforter. And there's people fighting to take the dog home while that person's still like this. Gratitude. Gratefulness for even the small things that we have. Acknowledgement. Recognizing these good things as gifts or blessings. Waking up in the morning. My wife always tells me, she said, you talking to yourself in the shower? I say, I sure am. I'm doing positive affirmation. I'm happy to be here. Guys at work, too, talk some positive affirmation to yourself in the morning. It works really well. Like, I'm going to have a good day. Appreciation, allowing yourself to feel the positive emotions associated with good things. Just appreciating the small things. Expressing gratitude outwardly or paying it forward, saying thank you, performing a kind act. I was at Walmart the other day, and they had an open door. The lady was behind this guy, and he walked in and just shut the door behind her. And I had to run in front of her. I opened the door up, told her I apologized for what he did. But just the action of gratitude of the small things. What are we thankful for? Or we feel like walking around in life like people just owe us. They owe us. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm just happy for this opportunity. And I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. God bless my mother. 6 of us. She worked late at night. By the time we got off work, she got off work at 9 o'clock. You better be in the bed. Not in high school. This was in middle school. You better be in the bed. You better be ready for school the next day. So what I realized as I got older is that my mother, she invested in a lot of basic arithmetic, math, subtraction, addition, division. She invested in that, but she didn't have the time to invest in all 6 of us at a high level like that. But what my mother did invest in us is good morals, good values, treating people good, getting up, going to church every Sunday on the church van. Treat people good, because my mother always knew if you treat people good, they'll open that door for opportunity. And once you get the opportunity, that'll be an opportunity for you to learn. I see so many people all the time when I used to work with these young men to say, they're not that smart in my class, they're not doing what they need to do, but they got their PhD in the streets. So it's something good about them. It may not equate in the classroom setting, but it's something that they can use for them to be successful. Be mindful of that. Gratitude. Be grateful for the small things that you have, because there's people out here that don't have anything. There's people out here that just wishing for some of the blessings that we have, praying for some of the opportunities that we have. And sometimes we so normalized with it that we don't take the time just to say thank you. I got one of my frat brothers in here. I saw him. I gave him a huge hug. And first thing I told him, thank you. Thank you for coming. I appreciate that. Pastor Hudson always tell him, thank you. Gratitude. Be mindful of that. Stages of change. In life, people always say they want to change, but there are stages of change that we go through. I won't go through all these stages, but I will touch upon them. Pre-contemplation. That means you don't recognize you have a problem. You got a problem. No, I don't. That's pre-contemplation stage of change. You got a problem, you coming late to work. I'm only 3 minutes, you late. That's pre-contemplation, meaning that you don't recognize you have a problem. Contemplation, meaning that you understand you have a problem, you considering change. And a lot of people stay in this stage for years or years. I know I need to change. I'm thinking about changing, but I'm not willing to change. Some because they're afraid. Some because they like what they're doing. Some because they don't know who to reach out to. Contemplation stage of change. Preparation means preparing for the change. In your mind, you shifting your mind to understand that change is necessary and you're preparing yourself for the change. Action means that you're going forward to change. Maintenance means maintaining the change. Termination means terminating unwanted behavior. And relapse means return to unhealthy behavior. I say this to people all the time. Relapse ain't just on drugs and alcohol. You can relapse hanging around the wrong people. You can relapse going to the wrong places. You can relapse treating people bad. So relapse ain't just on drugs and alcohol. Relapse can be multiple things. And those are pretty much a stage of changes. And if you do have a relapse, that's okay. Go back to the preparation to action and see what you did wrong and come back. Because it is a difference between lapse and a relapse. A relapse means entirely going back to all the behavior. A lapse means that it was for a little bit of time and you got back to what you needed to do. Stages of change. It's normal to have problems. What is abnormal is not seek help for your problems. And I know you're like, Mr. Davis, Bryson, that's really critical. You criticize, I'm not criticizing. We all have problems. What it is abnormal, we don't feel like that we need to go get help for our problems. And we continue to do the same thing over and over again, and we believe that that's going to change. But there's plenty of people out here that will help you if you have problems. That could be that listening ear, that will support you, that will more importantly understand. Because a lot of kids, they tell me all the time, they say, Mr. Davis, I don't seek help because a lot of times people don't understand. They don't want to listen to me. They don't take the time to understand. I've been your age before, so I know what you need. It's abnormal it is abnormal if you're not seeking help for your problems, because we all have problems. Seek help for our problems. Be specific with our problems. Understand what our problems are. Don't be ashamed of our problems. Because in life, we always go up and down. It's okay. But just make sure that we try to operate at the highest level that we can to get help with what we need help with. Some barriers to seeking help: shame, embarrassment, lack of knowledge. Some people just don't know where to go. It's interesting, where I live at, I have 4 mental health facilities, but then when I work around here, I see more dialysis than mental health. And I work in this area all the time. You see more dialysis places, liquor stores, than you do mental health. So a lot of people I don't know where to go. So we talk about food deserts, we don't talk about mental health deserts. Lack of knowledge. Don't know where to go to help. Or guess what? It's so normal to them that this is just a part of life. It's not normal. Denial or lack of awareness. I don't have a problem. You had a problem. And sometimes we don't know we have a problem because we're wearing it. Sometimes it takes somebody to say, you're not looking too good. You changing. Something's going on different with you. My mother, she can call me right now. She could be on the phone with me, or my wife, they could be on the phone with me, and they can not be around me. I'm somewhere else around the city, and they say, something going on with you. What you do? I hear it in your voice. And my mother 3 hours away, 2 hours away. We don't see it sometimes because we're wearing it. Financial limitations, that is a big one. financial limitations. You got to pay for help. You got to pay for help. Financial limitations and limited access to services. Barriers to individuals seeking help. Barriers to seeking help. I don't call it generational curses. I call it generational habits. When I was a kid, I was the fastest beer runner to the cooler you ever seen in your life. I was a Carl Lewis and running to the cooler get my uncles a beer. Go get me a beer. Flying to go get him a beer, right? Get him a beer, bring him back. It ain't cold enough. Get the one at the bottom. So I had to go back, put my whole arm in it, go get him one, right? But what they did, they normalized that drinking was okay. They exposed me to something and made it normal. So when I was in college, when I used to drink heavy, I thought it was normal because that's what I saw. Habits. Everybody asks me right now, they be like, because, you know, when I was doing case management, I used to take all the hardest cases. I looked at it like this. If I'm failed, they know it's a hard case, so they won't be mad at me. But if I do good, then they give me all the praise because it was a hard case. So it was a win-win, right? And they asked me, I said, Mr. Davis, how did you change them? I said, I focus on their habits. Because habits are things we do subconsciously without thinking about it. We wake up, we brush our teeth. Well, we're supposed to brush our teeth every morning. Take a shower, do the things like that. Habits drive behavior. Behavior drives decision-making, and decision-making drives consequences. There is no such thing as generational curses. The answer is generational habits. What's being passed down to you that you doing that someone before you was doing. When I work with DCS, I see it all the time. Like, yeah, when I was growing up, I was in DCS, or I was in the adoption services, the various things like that. Now they're in there. Generational habits. I believe curses sometimes are bad things, and I think that gives excuses when we say curses to say what we continue to still do, which is a habit. It's not generational curses, generational habits. And what we're passing down to our loved ones, what they're seeing. Because I see this all the time. Mr. Davis, my kids ain't watching me. Oh, yeah, they watching. I used to work with a young man, and he said, Mr. Davis, I went on your Facebook page. I said, man, you ain't supposed to be going on my Facebook page, man. That's where I had a private, so you can't go on my page now unless you're my friend. And I said, man, you ain't supposed to go. What you doing on my page, man? You ain't supposed to go on my page. He said, no, Mr. Davis, I'm telling you this. It wasn't because I was trying to be nosy. He said, I wanted to see was you living the same life you was trying to have me live. The messenger has to be the message. You need to do this, but you live in this type of way. Well, you need to do this, but you live in this type of way. And the habits that we passing down to our loved ones, or the habits we passing down to our children, thinking they're not seeing us, thinking at the end of the day, what our parents used to say, go upstairs. This adult party's down here. I know what they was doing, but I still went upstairs though. But I knew what was going on. We weren't naive. Generational habits, and guess what? If you putting out good habits, healthy habits, then you're going to get healthy results. It's the reason why you see nurses or doctors and their kids are nurses and doctors and their kids are nurses and doctors. But if you really want to get to somebody and really help them, ask them, what do you do every day? And I promise you, that tell their whole story. So that's a secret for all our parents out here and grandparents. If you really want to get to the bottom of stuff, focus on their habits. And if you change their habits and change their habits to being good and being positive, you're going to see a change in their behavior and a change the way they think. We on fire this afternoon. Labeling. The power of labeling. Negative labels are words that define a person by their mistakes, behavior, or struggles. You know, times I see my kid bad. Okay. If you're going to label as being bad, they're going to be bad. Instead of my kid smart. My kid intelligent. My kid's going to be somebody. Labeling. Sometimes people begin to label themselves based on past experience or mistakes. Positive labels can strengthen confidence and motivation. Now, this is interesting. When I was at homecoming this past year, a guy came up to me and said, Bryson, let's go. And I was like, man, I don't do that no more. He said, well, when the last time I saw you, that's what I saw. Labeling. And we get upset how people approach us. Well, you still doing that? No, I don't do that no more. What you talking about? Well, the last time I saw you, that's what you was doing. What are we putting out? What are we putting out for people to judge us? That driving our label. Then we get mad. I can't believe you would think that about me. Wait a minute. What was you doing for them to label you like that? What did you put out for them to have that visual of you and the thought of you? Labeling. Because if you're not careful, we're going to operate within that label. We're going to stand within that label because guess what? That's what people expect of me, so I'm going to do it. And I know I used to operate in some unhealthy labels when I was younger and was proud of it. We had a class assignment. They said, Bryson, you're going to be working with these 4 people. And they rolled their eyes. This is a true story. And I was like, is it because I'm black? You know, I went to IU. Was it because I'm black? And I went to them and we had our first group meeting. And we sat down and I came. I was late. And I came and I had some ideas. And one of the guys, I guess he had the courage because, you know, they didn't want to approach me. He said, Bryce, let's go outside and talk. He said, Bryson, you don't have to come, but don't worry. We'll put your name on the final assignment, and we'll make sure you get your grade. And I'm mad. I'm like, what? Because I'm black and this and this? They said, no, Bryson, we see how you show up to class. You late? You smelling like stuff you weren't supposed to be smelling like? You going to Kirkwood Street, happy hour before you come into class? You ain't taking notes, you sleeping? We can't have you associated with us like that. Labeling. And I couldn't get mad. I was mad then. You know, I go to my friend like, yeah, man, you right, man. They'll treat you like that. Man, that was wrong. No, they was right. Because I'm not going to associate with somebody that's going to disrupt my name at my age now. I put myself out there for them to label me. Then I got mad because they treated me accordingly. What did I contribute to this? What did I contribute for them not to want me in the group? It wasn't my color, it was my ignorance. It was me not acknowledging how I'm putting myself out there. I didn't care. I thought they was squares. I thought they was lame. No, I'm the one that's a square, the one that's lame. Because I'm not valuing my education. And I'm mad how people treat me. This is critical. Girl, they always say I'm mean. Are you mean? Man, they always say they don't want me around. What you doing that they don't want you around? What are you putting out for people to judge you? Because I feel like this all the time. You can't control how a person feel about you. You could be the nicest person in the world, but people still gonna feel a certain type of way. But you can control what people think about you, how you show up. Not fully, but you can dictate it. You ever had that coworker you didn't like him, but you know he do a good job? I don't like him, but guess what? I want him on my team because he's gonna get the job done. You can't control how people feel about you, but you can somewhat dictate what they think about you to how you show up. And now I'm older, I keep that in my mind all the time. to strip those negative labels and have positive labels. And one more thing before we move on. When you have a chance to show people you're nice and you do good things, do it. Because you never know what Pastor Hudson could say about me that can go through these whole rooms, this whole walls out in Indianapolis. Advocacy is the most expensive thing we have in this world. There's nothing more expensive than somebody putting their name on the line and say, I know from who I am and put my credentials on the line that he's going to do a great job. He advocated for me today. And I appreciate that. Labeling. Be mindful of that. You know, when I was young, I used to hear it all the time. You act just like your dad. Wait a minute. How my dad treat my mom ain't always good, so you think that's how I am? Be mindful of that. Because we could place labels on people unintentionally. And they're going to act within that label. What's the goal? Treat people how you want to be treated. No, just treat them good. Just treat them good. This is simple. This is a simple one. Just treat them good. Even when they don't deserve it. What is grace? Favor when sometimes people do and do not deserve it. Treat people good. Be mindful of that. Be mindful of how we talk to people. Be mindful how we show up for people. I say this all the time. It's a limit how much I can help you, but my effort is limitless. It's a limit to how much I can help you, but my effort will be limitless. Treat people good. Treat people nice. Show respect to people. Because guess what? We want people to treat us how we want to be treated, but sometimes we don't treat ourselves good. And sometimes we expect that of other people. Be mindful of that. I said that earlier in our presentation. You never know what people got to go through to face the world. You never know how many people is looking at that gun and say, you know what, I'm not going to shoot myself today. I got to go out here and keep going. You just never know. I hear it all the time in my therapy. Or what people got to go through to keep their children safe. Stand in abusive relationships to keep their children safe. Going to a job that knowing they're getting treated horribly, but they know they got to provide and support. My mom used to drive an hour to work every morning. She hated her job, but she had to do it. Treat people good. Be mindful of that. What did that person go through, and how can I help them make their day better? My brother always said I need to patent this saying, so I need to go ahead and really do it. I don't believe in tough love. Love tough. I don't believe in tough love. I believe in love and tough. What is love and tough, Mr. Davis? Love, you lead with love, compassion, grace, and understanding. The tough is just accountability. Because if we're not careful and we so tough, by the time they weed through the toughness, they ain't gonna see the love. Well, you know I whooped you because I love you. My bottom ain't feeling like that. My grandma was old school too. She's passed away now to heaven. She take the switch off the tree. Now, Bryce, you know I whipped you because I love you, right? If this is love, I don't want it. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right. That ain't love. That's a whooping. Love them tough. Lead with grace. Lead with compassion. Lead with understanding. And the secret to toughness is just accountability. You know your expectations. You know what I want you to do. Because when you lead with love, they be able to receive the toughness. But if we're so tough, by the time it's time to love, they're going to reject it. Because the only thing they see is toughness. They don't see the love. And when you loving somebody, they'll receive anything that you have to tell them. I promise you that. But when we lead with tough love and telling them what they're doing wrong and telling them what they're not doing right and telling them what they could be better at and just beating them down, then by the time it's time to be loving, they're going to reject it. And then we wonder why they get 18 and don't want to come back home. We wonder why they get married and sometimes it's like, I didn't get the invite to the last minute. Be mindful of that. Because sometimes in life, it's okay to get beat up. I know y'all looking at me like, what you mean get beat up? Sometimes people got to beat us to take us to the next level. Sometimes we got to get beat at our job. Sometimes we got to go to a rough situation. Sometimes we have to go to a crisis to take us up. We don't want to get beat down. That's a huge difference. Loving them tough, not tough love. Mental health is important. It refers to the role of emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health affects how individuals think, feel, make decisions, cope with stress, and interact with others. Please, if you take out anything from today, prioritize your mental health. I'm going to leave us with this story. I like flying Southwest, right? Because you get the free bags. Now they charge you for bags now. And I'll never forget, I was going to Kansas City for the Colts game. I'm a 49er fan, but my buddies, my fraternity brothers like going to the Colts game. So I'm at the airport, and I'll never forget when I went home, I was at home prior to that. I was packing my stuff because I had a big old suitcase. And I was packing it and packing it and packing it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pack some more in it, right? They'll let me go. So I went to the airport. I took the suitcase, put it on the way. They're like, Mr. Davis, it's 52 pounds. I'm like, I know. I travel like this all the time. They said, we got a problem. I said, what's the problem? They said, your suitcase too tall. I'm like, okay. They was like, well, you're going to have to pay an extra $200 to fly with your suitcase. And I said, I got to pay extra $200. I said, I used to do this all the time when they used to let me come with my suitcase. They always let me go through. It was never a problem. She said, well, Bryson, somebody wasn't doing their job. They was letting you travel when you was too heavy. So he's like, but I have another option, Bryson. If you want to, you could go to the shop and buy a bag so you could take some of your stuff out the suitcase and put in an extra bag. So I went and saw the bag. The bag was like $150. So I said, well, I can't go home. I want to go on this trip, so I had to pay the $200, right? And the $200 to come back because my bag was too heavy, right? That's how we are with our mental health. We're packing our suitcase too heavy purposely, right? I took it to the airport. It was too heavy. The lady didn't let me go through. She said, somebody been allowing you to travel places when your trauma is too heavy. So it's a price to pay. Y'all ain't getting this. Hold on. I go to the airport. My bag was too big. Our trauma be too heavy at times. We put it on a scale. It was too heavy. People continue to allow us to travel with too much trauma because they're not doing their job to tell us that we're walking around too heavy. And eventually there's going to be the price to pay, which in mine, it was financial, but in other people, it could be others. Unpack. With that being said, thank you guys for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I hope the words that you got today will be in your heart and your soul. And hopefully one day you guys have me back. And I love everybody. And continue to unpack and continue to prioritize your mental health. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Are there any question cards you filled out? In fact, if you could bring those forward, any question cards. All right. We'll take a couple of questions. We have a little time. Of course, now, Mr. Bryson, he cannot address fully a situation, obviously, right? That's why we schedule time and go in and sit down with counselors and get help. Not just one time, we spend time. That's what therapy is, right? It's ongoing. But this has been rich, y'all, and there's so many takeaways. And I appreciate just his expertise, his humor, his being down to earth, with us. And that's one of his features, he's down to earth and speak to us, not down to us, but speak to us where we are and then lift us up where God wants us to be. Any quick questions? We have about 5 minutes here. Galen?
Well, they may not be in an abundance of it like it was in previous administrations. I'm not getting political. However, it is still help. We just have to dig a little bit more where to find the help. But the good thing about today's society is that there's so many outlets where you can seek help. Facebook, social media, Facebook, different things like that. Pastor Hudson here at church, various things like that, where you can actually seek the help. This is a little bit more digging that you have to do. However, it is still plenty of help out there. There's a lot of organizations that dedicate their time, their money, their resources to help for free or at a really highly discounted rate where you can get the services that you need. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well stated. And you have to dig a little bit. Now, we do have, we have a health and wellness ministry hub, and webpage has a long list, of places to look and people to talk to. But yeah, now also I mentioned to Bryson, we had a podcast, sat down, we spoke. Every time I have a guest on my podcast, a professional such as Bryson Davis, I ask them, how to encourage other people to get into the profession, right? Young people to choose this field. We talked about his background, why he chose this field. And we do need more black clinicians, right? That's more relatable, to people sometimes. Not that white people can't help you. Of course they can help you. But we need to have more black people, more black men, in these positions. That helps too, doesn't it? Because sometimes people will seek help from people who look like them. They shouldn't wait for that, but sometimes people have that issue as well. Quick question. Anybody else? Quick question. Good question. Yes.
I think that's a really excellent question. I think that, for example, where you came here today and you left with certain things today where you can encourage them the necessary and need for them to get the help that they need. And more importantly, go with them. Say, guess what? If you need somebody to go with you, I'll go with you. I'll go with the first couple steps with you, the first couple sessions if necessary to make you feel supported, to help you feel supported. There are also a lot of places around the city that have family workshops like we're doing here now, where they do sit down and help and work with family and different things like that. One thing about people receiving help, you can't make them. You can't make them. However, you can encourage them through your own self-disclosure, what helped you, what encouraged you to seek your help. And maybe you can be that example for them to feel comfortable knowing that if she's comfortable with it, guess what? I'm doing it. Remember the barriers of treatment we talked about? A lot of it is shame and different things like that because they feel like they're the only one that feels a certain way, the only one going through that. But a lot of times if you self-disclose and say, hey, this is what I went through because I had the help that I need, I got the help that I needed, then they feel more comfortable. More importantly, I teach families, go with them, walk with them, let them know they're not alone, support them. And even if you have to go to the first couple sessions, go with them.
One thing I notice as a pastor is to the point you can't force people. But when you pray for people, what happens is at some point God opens their heart, opens their mind. At some point maybe something happens and then they become ready to get some help. So be ready for that moment, right? When maybe they do turn around and say, you know what, I want some, then be willing to go with them, walk with them, and then help people with those steps. But it's frustrating, I mean, my sister here shared her heart. One of the hardest things in life is to see clearly that somebody needs help. You see what the need is, and the person just won't step into it. That is very, very heartbreaking, and frustrating. But with that, like I told her, I said, I said, make sure that you take care of yourself too. Make sure that, you don't forget to get your rest, your time. She said, yeah, I do that. I said, good, I see you look pretty good to me. You must be doing that, right? I can see that. Because that's the hard part also, is that when you are a caregiver or you're wanting to help people who aren't responding, it can take a toll on you. It will take a toll. And so it's important to, self-care, which I'm glad you're doing that. Okay. All right, well, everybody, thank y'all for being here. This has been a, yeah, go ahead, Emerson, yes. Say again? Yeah, get guardianship. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's good, Emerson. Yeah. Yeah, the guardianship, that's a big step. But that's sometimes the step you have to take, Now, of course, with my dad, I have power of attorney. He's my dad. Different situation, what you're dealing with. But sometimes, whether it's guardianship for a younger person, so you can make decisions on their behalf, in their favor, or, of course, with older people, not mental health things, but just power of attorney to help care for somebody who can't make decisions, Yes. Okay. It's good insight. Good insight. Yeah, because sometimes, as you say, you have to, force is, if we say force, we don't mean that in a bad way, but in a way like, for example, we grew up and never wore seatbelts when I was a kid. It's like, you look, no seatbelts for sissies, you know what I'm saying? Then they passed a law, made us wear seatbelts, right? They gave us an excuse. Well, I got to wear it. And ended up saving lives. So sometimes things are done to help people in spite of themselves. That's not a first step situation at all. But, when you care about somebody, you look for all the ways, what can I do here? That's one thing that may be in play. All right. All right, give God some praise. We're in the house of God. Praise God. We're in the house of God. Give God praise and thanks. Again, Bryson, for being on point. Is your wife here? It's wife, right? Yeah. So thank you for keeping him available to us. Because I know that who cares for the caregiver? You know what I'm saying? So, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this workshop in which we've gained a lot of insight and wisdom. Lord, from Bryson. Expertise, Lord, he has walked 24 years in this field and gained a lot of wisdom and expertise and just best practices and things that just work, Lord, because it's been proven to work. So, Father, thank you now as we go forth to digest this information, Lord, to just have better understanding and have better self-care and management, all of the points we've learned, self-regulation, all those points. And Lord, thank you that we'll be able also to share with others, not, Lord, to try to become a therapist, but to encourage others, Lord, with what we have learned on today. So thank you, Father God, for this workshop, for our viewers who've been watching live and those who will see this later. Lord, thank you for Donovan on sound and video, for our volunteers on today, for my wife, Selena, all who've helped here today to make this workshop a blessing and a success. We go forth thanking you for a great day. In Jesus' name, can you say amen? All right. God bless. Have a great day.
Thank you.
See you next time, okay? Thank you, Bryson.
Thank you.
All right, get a quick picture with you if you could,
Okay,
please.
for sure.
Yeah.